Dear beautiful souls, this is a fun one. One I have been contemplating to do for a while, to answer the question, does alien contact happen in meditation? Yes, it does. Many yogis will not speak about it because maybe from their perspective society isn't ready for this type of information, or maybe they simply believe it's not very important because the core spiritual messages that we discover through the yoga and through the meditation are of greater importance. And I would actually agree there. However, these phenomena occur to any meditation practitioner at a certain level of practice. Well, why is this so? Because when we open up certain energy centers, what happens is that higher energy frequency pours into our nervous system. And this higher energy frequency starts modifying our nervous system to perceive more subtle energies that exist on a higher dimensional level. So at some point, it is possible to develop telepathy to such a level where when you raise your frequency, it starts overlapping with the frequency of species in the universe that are higher developed. So when they have certain spiritual ability and they are now sharing this frequency band with you, they can basically interface with you. Not only does this happen with our spiritual teachers and certain yogis who are able to share mind and certain monks who are able to share mind, but it also happens with alien species from other planets who have reached that level of development. Now, when they reach out, what is it like? Well, interestingly, when I started having these type of experiences, the first thing that got me is that they are people. That statement might sound a little bit strange right now, but there are so many fantasies about them, and if I want to make a joke, very alien ideas of how they are. And of course they are different, but once we link with them telepathically and they describe to us their cultures, their religious practices, what happens is that they actually become humanized. So then you realize, oh, these are also people like us. And it actually becomes less strange. Well, why would they reach out to us? Well, obviously, there's a good reason that they have to reach out to us, because humanity is slowly growing up. I'm not saying we are grown up. We have plenty of issues to fix before we should enter the cosmic family, so to speak. However, once we reach a certain spiritual maturity, the reason certain alien beings will reach out, because what they're looking for is to prevent such a thing as a culture shock. So imagine you are an American native and suddenly Columbus is landing at your coast. Or the Spanish are coming, right? But I don't mean this right now as the idea of invasion. Absolutely not. This is not what their intent is. But the shock of meeting a different culture that, for example, is technologically advanced or sometimes spiritually advanced, can destabilize your own culture. So there is a certain psychic shock that comes with that. And their intention is to prevent this psychic shock from occurring on a collective level by reaching out to those of us who can already perceive them. So we're kind of inoculated to the experience, so the experience doesn't shock us. So it's a preparation for more direct contact, where those of us who have already have these type of contact experience, where we can kind of operate as a mediator, where we can explain the psychology of these species, what their intention is, to reduce the fear in the collective. And that is why certain yogis or spiritual masters or monks actually have these experiences, but they keep it on a personal level because it does not seem relevant yet. Well, the topic about alien contact is even nowadays on the media, probably not for the right reasons. However, humanity becomes increasingly more sensitive to that, and because humanity is waking up to their own psychic memories, so slowly the amnesia, for example, of past highly developed cultures that we have been is dropping away. And slowly we begin remembering contact experiences that happened earlier in humanity. And slowly we become accustomed again to the idea that we're not sitting on a little isolated planet, but that there are many different cultures around us who are trying to ease us into the contact experience. And these type of contact experience, how to explain? There were moments where I was seeing, for example, an alien being so clear I could see every pore on the skin. It was that detailed. I'm not saying they were physically there, but they were on a, let's say, dimension next to what I could perceive. And my psychic senses would be able to fuse with that dimension to such a degree that I could perceive them. And interestingly, this might be funny for some, how do I hear this telepathic contact? And if I say English, many people will probably laugh, but there's a reason for this. So, of course, telepathy, when it's powerful and contains a lot of information, will mostly consist of visual information. However, there might also be conceptual information in terms of words. And how does that work? Well, that's quite simple. When we experience a telepathic impulse on our brain will try to match the words to the information in the telepathic impulse. So it's not actually that they're talking to me in English, that's not what they're doing, but my brain is translating that into English. So when they give me a certain frequency, a certain idea, an impulse, and then my brain picks the word that comes mostly the closest to this type of concept or idea. So it is an approximation. We cannot fully understand them, but we can understand them to some degree. So many people might ask, why don't they just show up at our doorstep? Because they have a clear policy of non-interference. And the development of humanity, its growing into maturity, is in a way a sacred process. And because they know it's a sacred process, and they know that certain forces are allowed to guide us, for example, our spiritual teachers, those of us who already exist in higher dimensions and have been part of the human collective, they do understand that contractually, with regards to the spiritual law in the universe, what they can do, they can only communicate with those who will not experience harms with this communication. So they would, for example, not reach out to somebody who has an unstable mind or who hasn't gone through certain spiritual initiation, because it would destabilize them. And as you have maybe observed, there is an obsession in humanity with the idea of pre-astronautic, of aliens having come to planet Earth, already visited, may have left certain architectural things, may have influenced ancient cultures of our own who have created certain buildings and so on. There is an obsession over that, which, if it becomes negative, becomes a looking outward. And this is not what those species want that are of a higher development. Those species who are of a higher development, they want us to look inward. They want us to contact with our own connection with God, fuse with that, come into union with that, because only then we can be sane. And only then we can receive higher energies and deeper levels of information without doing mad things with that. Yeah, they are particularly concerned with humans reaching certain levels of technology too early, because the spiritual consciousness needs to match the technology development, or rather we need to spiritually be more developed than we are developed on the level of technology, so we don't become harmful to ourselves and to other species in the universe. So they're very watchful about that. So when humans have this type of greed for foreign technology or foreign knowledge, it comes from a place that is potentially highly dangerous. So therefore, they will only assist in some ways in spiritual matters in order to make humanity ready for this type of contact. However, they will not provide you for all, like, let's say, with all the solutions that your ego is greedy for. For example, the idea that they fix all our financial problems, or all our material problems, all our health problems. this type of outsourcing is highly problematic, because we cannot come into adulthood by developing dependency on another species. And humanity actually has past contact experiences, and these contact experiences have not been entirely positive. They are contact experiences where, for example, certain species came to planet Earth and they have been worshipped as gods, and they have basically represented religion for us, which has created a dogmatic idea of religion. So there are certain problems associated with that. Yeah? There are dependency problems and so on. So humanity needs to reach full adulthood so it can meet other adults as an adult and not as a greedy child. Yeah? Therefore, even though our curiosity is very justified, and curiosity is in general a very positive energy, because curiosity is what overcomes fear. And if you take anything away from this video, then it is very, very important that to understand that overcoming our own fear is of the greatest significance if we want to have these contact experiences, because it's actually the humans projecting their own shadow, their own fear, their own darkness on this type of experience that will then make them potentially be abusive, manipulative, and greedy towards other species in the universe. So we need to face our own darkness first. When we have faced our darkness and we have transformed that darkness into wisdom, then we're truly ready to be in the proper communication with our greater family in the universe. Contemplate about this, my friends. Be well.